Ravens had planned to draft Shedeur Sanders in round 5. The modern draft's most stunning freefall has parked Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, which circled back to the polarizing quarterback prospect via a 5th-round trade-up. That move prompted teams to ask the Browns about Dillon Gabriel, who became tied to Cleveland in round 3, trading neither Gabriel or Sanders. The Browns have both backing up Joe Flacco after sending Kenny Pickett to the Raiders. Gabriel sits as the Browns' backup, with Sanders in the 3rd-string spot. This is certainly not what Sanders had in mind when he prepared his pre-draft plan, but he is squarely on the developmental track for an organization that will be closely tied to another QB investment come 2026. Related, inside Browns' complex plan at quarterback. Before the Browns made a value-based play for Sanders at number 144, the Ravens lurked as a team set to stop the ex-Colorado starter's draft weekend plunge. Baltimore was prepared to draft Sanders at number 141, ESPN's Adam Schefter reports, but received word the QB was uninterested in joining a team with Lamar Jackson entrenched as the starter. It appears Sanders' camp informed the Ravens he did not want to be drafted by Baltimore, per Schefter. That led to the Ravens drafting Alabama A&M tackle Carson Vinson. The Browns then traded up, via the Seahawks, for Sanders, who had once lingered as a potential first-round option for QB-needy Cleveland. A disastrous Sanders pre-draft process nixed that, but he did join a team without a long-term starter, whereas the Ravens will be a Jackson-centered team for many years to come. Sanders would have hit the developmental track in Baltimore, only with no real roadmap to a starting role with that franchise. Jackson, 28, has become one of the NFL's best players. Replacing an injured Flacco midway through the 2018 season, Jackson never gave the job back and is almost definitely on his way to the Hall of Fame. His 3 first-team All-Pro nods trail only Peyton Manning, 7, and Aaron Rodgers, 4, for post-merger QBs, and the Ravens remain a perennial Super Bowl contender because of their historically talented dual threat. The Ravens signed Cooper Rush to a 2-year, $6.2 million deal in March. Sanders had gone from a player expected to be at worst a second-round pick to one not exactly in position to be calling his shots by round 5. But the Ravens appear to have agreed to avoid drafting a player who did not want to be part of a plan that brought a QB2 ceiling. That may be Sanders' NFL future anyway, but he did not voice known objections to landing in Cleveland, where a rare 4-man quarterback competition ensued. Of course, Sanders did not exactly factor in prominently in this battle. Gabriel played ahead of Sanders throughout the Browns' offseason, as rumors indicated teams viewed the latter as behind the curve in terms of football intel. Sanders is believed to have made strides here, but he made the rare jump, due to Pickett and Gabriel injuries, to preseason starter after not taking a first-team rep in 11 on 11 drills in training camp. Sanders showed flashes during his start against the Panthers, but the former Cam Ward rival, for the number 1 overall pick, did not ultimately threaten Flacco for Cleveland's starting gig. Baltimore has cycled through a few backups during Jackson's tenure, going from Robert Griffin III to Tyler Huntley to Josh Johnson. Jackson missed extended stretches of time in 2021 and 22. Even had Sanders arrived in Baltimore, Rush would have almost certainly been the fill-in option. Sanders having treated pre-draft meetings like recruitment rather than job interviews rubbed many teams the wrong way, and while it does not appear Baltimore was one of them, it is worth wondering if the Ravens spent too much time on Sanders' prep due to Jackson's status. A day 3 prospect informing a team he did not want to go there adds another chapter to one of the stranger prospect odysseys in modern NFL history. When the NFL draft rolled around, few stories carried more intrigue than the whispers surrounding Shedeur Sanders. The son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders and the centerpiece of Colorado's high-flying offense, Shedeur was projected by some as a day 2 pick, while others believed he'd slide to day 3 due to questions about his transition to NFL speed and pocket pressure. But what fans didn't know at the time was that the Baltimore Ravens had quietly circled his name, and even planned to make their move in the 5th round. The Ravens' secret draft board. Every draft season, franchises build complex draft boards filled with contingency plans, hidden targets, and long-shot prospects. For Baltimore, their scouting department had placed Shedeur Sanders in a unique category, a developmental quarterback who could learn behind Lamar Jackson. Sources later revealed that the team's evaluators admired Sanders' poise, accuracy on intermediate throws, and leadership traits. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken, who had worked with Georgia's championship quarterbacks, reportedly saw Sanders as a natural processor who could thrive in the Ravens system if given time. With Lamar locked in as the face of the franchise, Baltimore was under no pressure to draft a quarterback early. But the idea of having a high-profile, coachable understudy who could absorb the offense behind the MVP was too enticing to ignore. Why round 5? The Ravens believed round 5 was the sweet spot. By then, their primary roster needs, offensive line depth, edge rusher, and wide receiver, would have been addressed. Drafting Sanders in that range was considered low risk, high reward. Fifth-rounders rarely become starters, but when they do, they become some of the most valuable finds in NFL history. General Manager Eric DeCosta has long valued players who slip through the cracks due to external factors. Sanders' draft stock was complicated. He came from a program still rebuilding under his father, he faced questions about playing behind a shaky offensive line at Colorado, and he lacked the gaudy rushing numbers that teams now crave in dual-threat quarterbacks. Still, Baltimore's internal grading system had him marked as one of the best situational fits of the entire draft. The Lamar factor. Part of Baltimore's intrigue with Sanders came from the parallels and contrasts to Lamar Jackson. Lamar is a dynamic runner who bends defenses with improvisation, while Sanders is a precise operator who thrives on timing. The Ravens reportedly envisioned using Sanders in preseason and practice to mimic pass-first quarterbacks like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. In effect, Shedeur could serve as both a developmental project and a tool for preparing the defense each week. For a team that prides itself on long-term roster building, this was a double investment, preparing for the present while hedging for the future. Draft Day Drama. As the draft unfolded, the Ravens quietly monitored Sanders' slide. They had filled holes with their first 4 picks, and round 5 was approaching. The call was ready, the draft card unofficially penciled in. But football drafts are living, breathing dramas, and Baltimore's plan never reached daylight. Reports suggest that another team, possibly Cleveland or San Francisco, sniffed out the Ravens' interest and jumped earlier than expected. The Ravens' war room, though calm, felt the sting of watching their hidden target vanish. Instead of Sanders, they pivoted to another depth pick, but the story lingered long after the draft concluded.